Good morning again. Oops, I better turn myself on. Good morning again and welcome again, and thank you very much for being here. I appreciate your time. From the book of Psalms, we are told, "Be still and know that I am God." And in the past, I had paraphrased that saying by saying, "Relax, be at peace, and know that I am God and that I will take care of you." Do you know that we can experience peace under any situation, under any condition, and under any adversity? This is possible because peace is an internal state of mind that need not be governed by external conditions. But how do we get there? Few things are more elusive than attaining peace, but let's give it a try. The title of today's talk is The Quest for Peace. If you ask 1,000 people what they wanted out of life, I suspect that most of them would provide material answers. More money, a great job, good looks, the right relationship, a home on the beach with a new Jaguar sitting in the garage. Maybe some would throw in health, but if we have good health, we tend to assume good health and then take it for granted. I wonder how many would say that what they wanted most out of life, their top priority, is peace and contentment. And when you think about it, what is there that is more important to satisfying and fulfilling one's life than peace and contentment? I cannot think of anything more desirable. Peace is one of the strangest paradoxes known to humanity. In that, over the millenniums of time, people have killed millions of their fellow citizens on earth in order to obtain or secure peace. And this carnage is quite often done in the name of God. The 15th century French mathematician and philosopher Blaise Pascal observed that men never do evil so completely and cheerfully as when they do it from a religious conviction. In fact, we not only condone, but eagerly promote violence in order to obtain and then secure peace. The very word peace provides the foundation for numerous oxymorons. For example, there was an 1872 version of a Colt revolver called the Peacemaker, a gun designed and sold for one purpose, the use of violence to preserve the peace. 100 years later, President Ronald Reagan borrowed the name and the idea by calling a nuclear missile with multiple warheads capable of blowing up half the world the Peacemaker. Peace on earth seems to be an elusive quest. As a civilization, the more we try to obtain peace, the more people get killed in the process. Governments and military strategists argue that peace can only be maintained through a resolve to go to war. In other words, we will willingly disrupt peace in order to preserve it. And sad as it may seem, there's logic in that position. A common obstacle to securing and maintaining peace is the human desire to take and possess that which another has. Be it initiated by an individual, an organization, or a government, if someone has it and another wants it, there may be a willingness to disrupt peace in order to get it, including land, possessions, and a way of life. We would probably get along fine in this world just by letting people think whatever they wanted to think about whatever they wanted to think about. But if you have something, and for whatever justification or lack thereof, I want it, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get it, there cannot be peace. Note that the same logic applies to points of view. Oh, that's a bummer. We have had a hard enough time controlling our own wants and desires, let alone those of others, especially in countries and among cultures that we don't even understand. So how can we ever hope to have peace even within ourselves? Perhaps we could find some reassuring words from the New Testament, the gospel, the good news. In Matthew chapter 10, verse 34, Jesus states, Don't imagine that I came to bring peace to earth. No, I came to bring a sword. I have come to set man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Your enemies will be right in your own household. Well, that's not the encouragement that we were looking for. Let's try the book of Luke. As you know, Luke was a doctor by profession and a friend of Paul. Luke made it his mission to authenticate and verify all this rhetoric postulated by other New Testament authors. So here's what Luke had to say about peace. And I read from the book of Luke, chapter 12, verse 51, which is as follows. Now, Bo, pay attention down there. Do you think that I have come to bring peace on earth? No, I've come to bring strife and division. From now on, our families will be split apart, 3 in favor of me and 2 against, or the other way around. There will be a division between father and son, mother and daughter, mother-in-law and daughter-in-law. The gospel according to Luke. Well, so much for uplifting oratory about peace on earth. In these strange and unsettling words, Jesus is revealing to us that his coming often results in conflict. Intimate groups may be torn apart when some choose to follow him and others refuse to do so, even if those others are family. Jesus offers no middle ground here. It is for us to love God first, love ourselves second, and love others as we love ourselves. And when we can master these 3, we won't have to search for peace. Peace will have found us. In our secular world, that being the environment in which we experience daily, we find ourselves caught up in a whirlwind of turmoil that we have no control over. Yet nonetheless, we're part of it. Is it possible that we could experience peace in our lives all the time? That no matter what conditions may be surrounding us or the external state of affairs at any point in time, we can be at peace. Yet peace seems to be so elusive. It's something that's forever hanging out there in full view. We can't ever seem to catch up to it. It's always just out of our grasp. But peace is not elusive. Not if we know where to look for it. God strategically located peace in a very spatial and prominent place that we may have it whenever we want it and in a place where it will be secure. No one can take it away from us, and no one can disturb it unless we give them permission. That place is within us. That is where we will find peace. Peace must come from within. To think that we found peace anywhere else is only an illusion. Webster describes peace as a state of tranquility or quiet, freedom from disquieting or oppressive thoughts or emotions, harmony in personal relations. One may think that a state of peace is impossible. How can we experience peace with so much violence and blatant destruction going on, and we have control over none of it? Even our world is often embroiled in turmoil. And when I say our world, I mean our personal world. Not the external world in which we live, but our inner world from where there is no escape. Prisons and mental institutions are bursting at the seams. Psychiatrist offices are packed, and suicides have reached an alarming rate, not because of the turbulence in the external world, but because of the turbulence from within our minds, our inner sanctuary. How can we ever expect to live in peace with our fellow citizens of earth when we can't even master peace within ourselves? In our quest for peace, we may turn to artificial means for a temporary escape. We may turn to booze. We may turn to drugs, either illegal or prescription. For example, it's been reported that doctors write over 66 million prescriptions for tranquilizers each year. Medicare, that's folks like you and me, as far back as 2013, was doling out $377 million a year for tranquilizer prescriptions. Or we may try to escape reality by taking a trip, a much-needed vacation, removing our physical being from reality in hopes that it will bring change to our mental state. We say that we need to get away from it all, a temporary reprieve. But isn't that what booze or drugs provide, a temporary withdrawal from a reality to which we must eventually return? Our hang-up is that we look for escape, satisfaction, and gratification in an external world. Although vacations are fun and should be looked forward to with great anticipation, we nonetheless need a more permanent solution to life's problems. Well, none of this is too good so far. So how do we get ourselves out of this dilemma? How do we get ourselves on a plane above all this negative thinking? A place in a higher level of consciousness where a permanent solution and a world of peace and enchantment await us. There are some basic steps that, when implemented, will eliminate the need for booze, for pills, for smoke, or for chemicals, or for escape trips. When these steps are put into action, our main purpose for vacations will be to run towards and enjoy life's experiences rather than to run away from them. But we must pursue peace from within. But in order to find peace within our inner world, we must first find peace with God and then peace within ourselves. To establish peace with God, some would purport that we must begin by turning to God and, in an attitude of prayer, humbly beg forgiveness for whatever it is that we may be feeling guilty about. Now, I want you to hang on to something really tight. This is going to be a shock. What if I told you that God could not forgive us? God could not possibly forgive us because God never held those transgressions against us in the first place. Could a God whose love for us is unconditional, mind you, whose love is far beyond our comprehension, possibly hold our sins and transgressions against us? No. Forgiveness is required, of course, but it is we who must forgive ourselves. And through the grace of God, we should find peace in knowing that we are forgiven. Jesus, with love and compassion, removed that yoke of guilt as he carried our sins to the cross. Therefore, it is we who must forgive ourselves and then request forgiveness from others in our secular world, and in turn forgive them even if it's just within our heart. Understand, however, that forgiveness doesn't mean that we must continue to endure unacceptable behavior. Another requirement for obtaining peace is to eliminate stipulations for peace. Some advocate conditional peace. For example, we can have peace when? Well, when is when? We can have peace when we drive all those no-good munchkins out of the country and send them back to where they belong. Or we can have peace when Uncle Arfie or Aunt Fizzy clean up their act and start to see things my way. Or we can have peace when that no-good boss finally learns to appreciate me. In other words, as soon as the world comes around to my way of thinking, then there can be peace. Well, of course, that will not work. The only peace that is lasting is a peace that is unconditional and not based upon when. For peace must develop from within. And we tend to think that just as soon as we're out of this situation, this relationship, this job, or as soon as we get Uncle Arfie or Aunt Fizzy fixed and change their way of thinking, there will be peace. My friends, that will never happen. There will come another situation, another relationship, another job, or another Aunt Arfie or Uncle Fizzy will gum up the works again. We must understand that none of these external things have to do with our peace. So long as they are external, they will continue to influence our peace and tranquility if, and only if, we give them the power to do so. And if we remove that power, no amount of external disruption can ever disturb our peace. Well, you may say, that sounds good in church, but I got real problems. Things in my life are a mess. The mower won't mow, the blender won't blend, Sparky bit the postman, and the car's making a funny noise. Life runs at an ever-fasting pace, and it's all I can do just to keep up. Such are the demands of my hectic world. The weight of the world is falling right upon my shoulders, and nobody, but nobody, can help. When this happens, stop. It's time to put things in perspective. Now, I'm going to stop my talk for a minute. I'm going to switch gears, and then I'll get back to it. But right now, I'm going to switch gears. A number of years ago, I gave a talk at the Davis United Methodist Church, the contents of which I no longer remember, but it must have had something to do with stress. Because to support that talk, I created and passed out to the congregation a laminated card that I called a Stress Buster card. And perhaps some of you Davis folks remember that, and I've carried one around in my wallet ever since. Well, my Stress Buster card seemed very appropriate for this talk too, so with Reverend Devin's permission, I made another set for this church. And the card has a picture of our church on the face of it. There's Romeo United Methodist Church. It has the phone number. And on the back, it says Romeo, historic Romeo United Methodist Church, services Sunday at 10 a.m., serving God since 1824. And then it has an affirmation. Relax, be at peace, and know that I am God and that I will take care of you. And I placed these on the banister down here, and please feel free to pick one up and take it with you when you leave this morning. When the roof caves in and the wheels come off and you're up to your neck and stressed and ready to pull your hair out, something which I can't afford to lose much more of, just stop. Pull out your card or recall its affirmation, take a deep breath, and then let that affirmation sink in. For me, it works. Okay, back to this morning's talk. Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, in his book, The Power of Positive Thinking, told the story of a physician. He was talking to a businessman who was an aggressive go-getter type of a businessman. And excitingly, he told the doctor what an enormous amount of work he had to do, and that he had to get it done right away or else. Pardon me. I take my briefcase home every night, and it's packed with work, he said nervously. Why do you take your work home with you at night? The doctor asked quietly. I have to get it done, he fumed. Can not someone else do it? Asked the doctor. No, the man snapped. I'm the only one that can do it, and it must be done right, and I'm the only one who can do it the way it must be done, and it has to be done quickly too. Everything depends on me. If I write you a prescription, will you follow it? Asked the doctor. If it'll work, I'll follow it, the businessman retorted. Here's a prescription that I have written for you, stated the doctor. You are to take an hour off each working day and go for a long walk. Then you are to take half a day off each week and spend that half a day in a cemetery. Why should I spend half a day in a cemetery? Asked the patient. Because, answered the doctor, I want you to wander around the gravestones of people who are there permanently. Many of who are there because they thought as you do, that the whole weight of the world rested upon their shoulders. I want you to meditate on the solemn fact that when you get there permanently, the world will go on just the same. And as important as you are, others will be able to do the work that you're now doing. Well, reportedly, according to Dr. Peale, the advice worked. So ask yourself, if your departure from life were hurried by job-related stress, would the organization that you owned or worked for still be in business? In most cases, while the heart in your body has stopped, the pulse of that company that hastened your demise wouldn't even skip a beat. If your departure from life were hurried by stress caused by other people who depended upon you or imposed their demands upon you, would their life go on? within a week of your funeral, some would all but forget your name. Let's put things in perspective, my friends. Are jobs, the people, and the problems that come with them worth it? Not if they're keeping us from our peace. And they can only keep us from our peace if we allow it. And we allow it because we gave them control over us by acknowledging their demands and their problems and the problems that they bring. I spent considerable time thinking about problems that we encounter in our daily lives, problems in the form of people, situations, and jobs. And I tried to put them in perspective in relation to the big picture of life. Following Ralph Waldo Emerson's logic that one can find metaphors in nature that portray experiences from daily life, I wrote a little poem for myself that likens those people and situations to waves in the ocean. And here's what I said in my poem. Waves on the ocean, they are conceived, they form, they grow and build, they roar for effect. Then they dissipate and disappear, never to be seen again. They are forgotten and nothing has changed. How many situations in life can we relate to waves on the ocean? Have you ever encountered problems or situations in life which came out of nowhere and grew bigger than life itself and roared with all their demands and anxieties, but then they disappeared and were gone? And in the final analysis, nothing had changed. We must prioritize what is worth losing sleep over. There are not many things. My friends, there is one thing we have absolute control over, and that is our thoughts and our attitudes. And if someone else can influence our thoughts and attitudes, it's because we gave them permission. Like the stressed out businessman, perhaps you've had a crisis in your life, which at the time seemed to be of great significance. But after the crisis was over and the dust settled, like a wave in the ocean, it came, it went, and in the end, nothing had changed. Life went on. The sun still came up in the morning, and the gentle rain welcomed the flowers of spring, and perhaps the sun even shone a little brighter, and the air smelled a little sweeter than before. Now, in saying all this, I certainly do not ignore or minimize the hardships and the tragedies that our daily lives are in the lives of others, but neither do I allow them to dominate me. So how then do we obtain peace within ourselves, and by doing so, enjoy peace within our world? First, remove all non-peaceful thoughts from your mind. This is a very hard thing to do. It's like trying not to think of a pink elephant. The more you try not to think of a pink elephant, the more you think about a pink elephant, until pretty soon a pink elephant is the only thing on your mind. By the same token, if we purposely try not to think of some injustice that has been handed us and that no good scoundrel who's responsible, before long, both the transgression and the no good bum ended up dominating our thoughts. And rather than removing these thoughts, both the act and the perpetrator now take center stage. What's more, the creep is probably at the ball game enjoying himself, having a good time, while we're sitting at home languishing in our bitterness. Well, here's how we can get over that. Consider this. Rare is the mind that can be trained not to have thoughts. There are those who, through deep meditation, could rid their mind of thoughts, but usually we must be thinking something about something. Unfortunately, in not trying to think about the no good bum or the unacceptable situation, we empty our mind with bad thoughts only to reload them with more bad thoughts. However, we increase the bad thoughts by about 10% because we just thought of some more stuff that we can stew over as long as we're at it. The secret is to eliminate bad thoughts by force feeding your mind with positive thoughts. Purposely make yourself think good things, things that made you laugh. Get something pleasant on your mind. The second step towards securing internal peace is to remember that God is on your side. It's been said that the deck of life is a stacked deck, and it is, my friends, and it's stacked in your favor. Affirm that nothing is going to happen that is beyond the capability of the A-team being you and God. In Philippians chapter 4, verse 13, we are reminded that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. All things. There are no exceptions. Things are usually never as bad as they seem anyway. You have a tremendous power going for you. Third, eliminate fear. An essential element in experiencing peace is not to be afraid, but to eliminate fear. Emerson said, "Do the thing you fear, and the death of fear is certain." Now, this doesn't mean we should run out in front of a bus, but we should take away the emotional fear that paralyzes us from going into action. Faith, my friends, is the one power against which fear cannot stand. Number 4, work out the negatives. Believe that where there is no way, God will always make a way. Negatives are positives in disguise. Where there's a problem, there lies within an even greater solution. Fifth, be still and feel God's presence. Let the mental pictures of the most beautiful scenes you've ever witnessed pass across your mind. For example, I like to think of green valleys filled with a hush of evening time as the shadows lengthen and the sun sets gently over the hills, marking the end of a day. Or a morning in the country when nature comes to life to greet the new day with the chirping of birds as they welcome the crimson dawn. The sun, the sea, the moon, the tides, and the seasons show no haste, but they show no delay. Everything is done in God's time. Reverend Boyd, a Seventh-day Adventist pastor, stated during one of his talks that God shows no haste and no delay. Everything is done right on time. Sixth, get rest. A good night's sleep, and turn your worries over to God. Go to sleep with a peaceful mind. Put yourself in God's hands and believe that you are now receiving the power that you need. Seventh, pray. And in your prayer, express gratitude. Do not use prayer to concentrate on the problems or a list of needs or desires. God already knows what the problems are, and He is preparing or has prepared the solution. God knew your wants and desires before you did, and it's His good pleasure to provide you with a storehouse full of blessings. Affirmative prayer produces an inward serenity, a toning of the mind, and a harmony between the inner and the outer worlds. Psalm number 121 tells us, I will lift my eyes unto the hills, from whence shall come my help. Start each day by affirming a peaceful, contented, and happy thoughts, and your days will tend to be more pleasant and successful. Psychiatrists tell us that our thoughts for the first 30 minutes of the day set the tone for the entire day. Seventh, develop confidence in God and then in yourself. Psalm 27, verses 1 through 3 assures us that the Lord is the strength of my life. In this I will be confident. My friends, God did not create us with a spirit of timidity and fear. We learned that. Let us unlearn it and have confidence in knowing that we have access to the greatest power in the universe. 8, practice peace. Practice peace from within. How do we practice peace? 1 Corinthians 13.10 states that there are 3 things which will endure: faith, hope, and love. And the greatest of these is love. And I argue that when you have faith, hope, and love, you cannot help but enjoy an enduring peace. Jesus said that you can look for the kingdom of heaven all around you, and you will not find it until you look within yourself. Therefore, place peaceful thoughts in your mind while removing non-peaceful thoughts, those being thoughts of anxiety, tension, and strife. What things produce peaceful thoughts for you? Thoughts of serenity, contentment, and tranquility. Go there. Go there in your mind. It doesn't matter what's going on around you. And finally, number 9, find peace in God. In John chapter 14, verse 27, Jesus assures us with these words, "Peace I leave with you, peace I give unto you. Let not your heart be troubled, neither let it be afraid." And Isaiah chapter 26.3 assures us he will keep us in perfect peace, all those who trust in him. Now there's something that can take the edge off. Peace awaits us knowing that we are loved, we are cared for, we are protected, and that our salvation is assured. I think that God tells us that peace is the most important thing that we can ever experience. Of course, he tells us to love him with all our heart, and to love ourselves, and to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. And to the degree that we express that love, peace will come over us and envelop us. And once we have obtained peace within our souls, there will be a proliferation of peace in our outer world. Because peace cannot be hidden. It will shine from us like a beacon. Not a beacon of hope, but a beacon of promise, a beacon of a new reality. I can't walk out of this church this morning and stop the bloodshed that's taking place in the state, the country, or the world. But I can place myself in a state of peace from within. And when we change the inner aspects of our mind, we change the outer aspects of our lives. And when we change the outer aspects of our lives, we change the world around us. And when enough of us do that, peace prevails in the world. You, my friends, are God-beloved's child. So relax, be at peace, and know that as you experience the coming week, you will walk with God, and he will take care of you. And so it is. Have a great and peaceful week. Thank you for your time. Thank you. Our closing hymn is number 526, "What a Friend We Have in Jesus." How appropriate. Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. Minds innocent and quiet take that for a hermitage. If I have freedom in my love, and in my soul am free, angels alone that soar above enjoy such liberty. Richard Lovelace, while writing from a London prison cell, captured more in 8 lines of his poem, To Athila, as I've been able to convey in over 20 minutes of oratory this morning. It's obvious that in spite of his circumstances, Richard Lovelace was at peace with himself. As you now leave this sanctuary and venture out into the world that awaits you, may peace engulf you and carry you through the coming week. How can you make that happen? Simply by deciding to do so. Make peace for yourself a continuing quest. Never let it go away. Have a great week and be at peace from within. And thank you again for being here. And if you'd like to pick up a Stress Buster card, they're here in the front railing. Take care.